Good morning, my name is George Vumbaca and I'm the licensee in charge of Jamesons. This February I achieved the milestone of being in Strata for 50 years. Well, interestingly I thought I was being employed as an accountant in a small accounting practice. What I didn't realise at the time was that the accounting practice was also doing accounting for a number of strata schemes in Sydney, and notwithstanding that, I was preparing accounts by hand in those days, and suddenly phones were ringing, and if someone was not there, because it was only a small practice of 5 people, I would pick up the phone and find that I was not answering an accounting question, I was answering a question about, help, there's a burst pipe in my unit, what do I do? And hence I soon became strata manager by chance, and looked after strata schemes as well as doing accounting duties. There was no courses available for this thing called strata management. There was some legislation called the 1961 Conveyancing Act, which was very thin, and I read it probably 20 times in one evening to get my head around what this legislation was about, so I could better understand what to do when people phoned about maintenance matters and levies and things like that. Then the 1973 legislation came around. Of course, we suddenly had a huge piece of legislation governing units in New South Wales. The founder, when he established the business in 1963, was actually in his latter years of his life. I don't recall the exact years, but he was around the age of 60 or 65. And I was with him since 1973, and the time arrived where Mr. Jameson wished to retire from the business, and I effectively took over the business around 1980, and that's where I started running the business, looking after staff. I was the payroll officer, I was the strata manager, I was the new business manager. I was basically everything until the point arrives where you're managing so many buildings that you have to start employing more people to undertake all the tasks that are necessary to be undertaken. And of course the business now is quite sizable, still very boutique. We're not a large business, we don't want to be seen or perceived as a large business, as we have multiple offices, and each office is manned by a general manager and his staff, and that works out really well because they represent your local strata manager, which is what people want, to have a local manager looking after their strata. Well, the customer experience has to be number one, not only in Jamesons' business, but in all businesses. It is important that whatever you say you're going to do, you must do. Not tomorrow, not the next day, but when you actually decided with the client that that's when you would deliver what you had to deliver. Just as an example, in my early years, where technology was not available and all invoices were paid by cheque, I had to deliver a cheque to a building on the way home one evening for the purpose of paying a contractor who was painting the building. I got halfway home and realised that I had left the cheque in an envelope on my desk. Notwithstanding that, I did not want to let the client down. I went back to the office, picked up that envelope and delivered it that evening. And this is what's so important. You must always deliver what you say you're going to do. And this has proved enormously wonderful for the business, in that I'm proud to say we have clients with us who've never left Jamesons, and we've been managing them in excess of 50 years. I've known these buildings as long as I have been in the business, And to me, that's a wonderful accolade for the business, which it's not only about delivering what you say, you have to deliver things in a way which makes sense to the client, in a humane way, in an empathetic way. This is so important, and basically just being a nice human being to others. That's what I found has done wonders for me, and the clients just love that. They treat you like their friend, their brother, their father, whatever. They treat you with so much respect that I'm just so proud of these clients who have been with us for so long. And interestingly enough, some clients who leave us for whatever reason, whether it's money or personalities, in later years they come back to Jamesons and wish they had never left. Yes, going back 50 years, things have changed enormously. If you can just imagine, no technology in 1973, apart from a calculator, pencils, rubbers, cash books which were hand entered in each day, levies struck by hand. Now we have technology where levies are churned out so quickly. There's processing places which envelope things. The types of buildings have also changed. We've seen 3-story walk-ups to hundreds, if not thousands, of lots being established in various areas of Sydney throughout New South Wales. Coupled with that is that the management of these schemes has become so complex, and to prevent issues occurring, strata management companies have had to embrace quite a lot of compliance risk management processes. For example, it's not good enough just to insure your building and rely on the insurer to increase the value by, say, 5% each year. That doesn't cut it. The legislation says one thing, you have to comply with that legislation. And to do that, you basically have to engage a valuer to do that. There's many other aspects of risk. Even entering a strata scheme's property, you have to make sure that the confines of the property are safe for the residents, safe for visitors, safe for tradespeople entering the complexes. And we now have basically work health and safety measures that have to be undertaken, particularly with commercial and industrial schemes. Again, with risk management, all the trades that you engage, huge obligation now on strata management companies to ensure that these trades have appropriate insurances so that when entering the property, if something happens, you can fall back on their insurances. This is very important, and over the years the company has partnered with various companies to manage the process of checking or validating the bona fides of each trades company to make sure that they're properly insured, etc. And currently the business uses a platform called Strata, SMATA, which currently undertakes that with the greatest of ease, so that the strata manager is not bogged down trying to do many administrative tasks. They're there to manage the building, look after the clients, spend more time dealing with the major issues of the building. All the administrative tasks are now handled very well by the Strata platform. It's an interesting question, that one. One does not start out to involve family. However, when our children were young, we would expose them to institute conferences. In fact, I remember our son Michael Vumbaca, who was the firstborn and currently the CEO of Jamesons, went to his first Institute of Strata Management, now known as the SCA, in the Hunter Valley when the institute was first formed. And he went there as a baby. Then of course, as years progressed, I took the children and my wife to the conferences. I would attend the conferences and my wife would look after the children until we met at morning tea or lunch, etc. Over the years, the children assisted the company in doing many tasks because everything was basically by hand. So we'd take photocopying home and the children would help collate and envelope all this copying. The levies we'd take home and do them at home. And as you may be aware, I have 5 children working the business. Michael, of course, is the CEO. Anthony is the Chief Quality Officer. And of course, we have Rebecca, Vanessa and Georgia also in the business, attending to multiple roles. Interestingly, over the years, I've also had father and daughters working for us, mother and daughters working for us, and in a way, we were attracting people from the same family to work for Jamesons. And I'm pleased to advise that we still have those people working for Jamesons, though in a sense it's a truly family business. I'll expand on that in that we have Paul Colby, the General Manager of the Surrey Hills office, and his wife actually worked for Jamesons as a teenager before he joined the business. So again, husband and wives, they're both working for the business. I'm a firm believer in not requesting the children to work in the family business. That's not a really good look. So when I turned 65, I called a family meeting and I asked the family members who wished to be involved in the business. And of course, I had 3 shows of hands at the time who would like to be in the business. And hence that started the journey for me to start handing over the reins to members of the family. Well, just by way of background, Michael, who is the CEO, as mentioned earlier, initially started in the photocopy room at the office. After a while, he believed he would like to be a strata manager, so he was given a small portfolio to look after, which he managed personally himself and did a great job. In order for me to help guide Michael, he and I sat in the same office for quite a length of time so that he could hear how I attended to business and I could hear how he attended to business, and then basically discuss ways of improving our communication with the clients where needed. And hence started the journey where, in fact, I was actually mentoring Michael into a far senior role at a later date. Yes, what a journey. 5 people and now exceeding 100. 100 people personally serving the strata community. Personally serve in the sense that we've got multiple offices so that people can be close to the communities that they serve. And that's the goal, to have offices close to your sphere of influence. In other words, if you're in Ryde, we have an office in Ryde. If you're in the city, we have an office in Surrey Hills. Miranda, we have multiple offices in the Northern Beaches, DY. So we're bringing personal service to the client through our offices, and we have a dedicated team of people who are just there wanting to look after and care for the buildings that they manage, building that rapport which keeps them at Jamesons for many, many years. And yes, I am referred to by a number of staff as Papa V. Not sure how that started, except that I would go around in the morning and say, "Good morning, children," because they were my family, they were my children. Even though they came from different families, they were still my children, and I loved them to bits because they looked after me, they looked after the business, and they had the same caring attitude that I have towards the clients. And that's what this business is all about, caring for the customer, making sure that their experience is worthwhile and caters for their requirements. I think it's absolutely critical that you treat staff with care and courtesy and nurture them on their journey in looking after our Strata clients. They do care passionately about the clients and do the best they can under currently very trying legislative circumstances, as compliance appears to be a very huge piece of the puzzle now for managers to navigate. Hence, it's even more important for me as I guess their mentor and or better known as Papa V. I guess that came about by the fact that staff were with me for so many years that they treated me like a dad and I treated them like my children. And that's really wonderful to hear. Not so wonderful when I get much, much older, but nevertheless, it's wonderful that they feel that I'm like their dad in a sense, in a business sense. In closing, I'd like to say that I'm so proud to be part of this wonderful industry, so proud to be associated with so many wonderful clients who are to this day my friends. And I also want to put on record that the legacy of Mr. Jameson will continue, has continued through myself, and will continue through my sons. And that legacy, of course, is the founder's words to me when I joined him: always do what you say you are going to do. It is so important. And it's not only that, also develop a caring, nurturing attitude towards people. And for that, I'm thankful.